this week has been a lot. I'm just going to put this out there. A lot of people have been talking about the fact that adultery is set to become legal in the state of New York. Politicians poised to scrap the crime of infidelity amongst married people. Now, New York is one of 16 states where marital cheating is still a criminal offense. Of course, it is still classed as a felony in Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Michigan. But what exactly does this mean? Joining me on the show right now, interestingly, we are matching Faith Orr, Rise International correspondent. I am so happy we're doing this because literally, look at us.
People are going to think this was planned. This was not
planned. The most random thing ever. We did not plan to wear the same shirt.
No.
But really, take us into this space right now. What's going on with New York and this law? Because people just think it's a joke.
I mean, there are some laws that are a joke, and the fact that this is still illegal at this point in 2024 is what lawmakers are saying needs to change. This law was put in place in 1907, and the whole idea at the time was to stop divorces from happening, because then the only way you could have a clean split was for one person to commit adultery, and then you could get divorced. And it's always been considered a misdemeanor crime, which means you could face about 3 months in jail for it. But it hasn't been used that much. There's only been 13 instances of this law actually being used. All of those have been since 1972, and there's only been 5 convictions. Now, let me tell you about the last time this law was used, which you're going to love this story.
Okay.
It was last used in 2010, when a woman called Suzanne Corona was prosecuted. Now, you might wonder, how did the police even become involved in her cheating on her husband? Well, it was to do with where she was cheating on her husband. She was caught having sex on a picnic table in a public park in New York, and she was reported to officers by a mother who was nearby playing with her children in the park.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought you might enjoy that
one.
Yeah. And it's a strange one, because why was she then charged with adultery rather than public
disturbance or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the officer clearly decided that that was what he was going to charge her with, and that was what happened. So that was the last time it was used. We know now the lawmakers have voted to repeal it, only 4 didn't, and it's on Governor Kathy Hochul's desk waiting to be signed.
I think that this really just raises that question of morality and law. Because I think New York obviously, New York is one of those states that everyone really has an eye for. And it also kind of gives us an idea of where things are going within the US. And when we had that whole debacle with Roe v. Wade and abortion laws and everything, I remember a lot of people just asking, why are we legislating on private issues? So do you think we're getting to a point where, while privacy within morality is okay based on your religion or whatever you believe in, that's why you act, but at the same time, how it affects the public could trickle into the legal space?
That's the thing, these are really difficult questions, and there's so many different views on this. There is this idea, you can't have everything you disagree with banned, right?
Yes.
Those are the actions of a petulant child, not a mature society.
Exactly.
To say, I don't want this, it doesn't mean it shouldn't exist. Other people have a right to do whatever they want to do, as long as they're not harming someone. So obviously we have laws such as, you can't murder, you can't rape, you can't do these things. But that's a different level, and there is this line that has to be drawn somewhere. And we are seeing changes happening. So, it's now legal. This law has been changed, because you said there, to start with, it's one of 16 states. So it's been legalized recently in Colorado, West Virginia, in Utah. So states that you might not think of as being particularly progressive, Utah particularly, but it is still criminalized in 15, including Arizona, Florida, unsurprising, North and South Carolina.
Yeah.
And the punishments vary, which is important, because in some places you're going to prison, but in other places you're getting a $10 fine. So that doesn't even tie up.
It doesn't.
And then it's not just the US. So there's some other countries, in South Sudan, for instance, they punish the person that's seen as being the intruder on the marriage. They don't punish the person who's married for straying. And then in India, there's a push to recriminalize it, to outlaw adultery once again. It was decriminalized in 2018. And before that, the law was that if a woman cheated, the man that she cheated with could be prosecuted. But if a husband cheated, as long as it was with an unmarried woman,
It was okay.
That was fine, no one cared.
These are the issues.
Yeah.
These are the issues because, again, when you want to now draw the lines of morality and say morality is now, we're going to legislate issues on morality, then to what extent are you, because for instance, murder is murder. The only difference is you have it in categories. You have manslaughter, and then you have, first degree, second degree, third degree murder. But at the end of the day, it just depends on the circumstances around it, and they are still just as weighty. But then with a case like adultery, when you say one person goes free and another person doesn't, one person goes to jail and another person gets a $10 fine, all in all, what would you say the best approach would be? Just leave it alone, or let's just legislate?
I mean, the laws that are on the books aren't really being used. Lawmakers say if laws aren't being used, they need to be repealed, they need to be taken off the books. They shouldn't exist if they're not being used. But there is this thing of that, we are seeing Roe v. Wade. We are seeing now further pushes to control birth control, which is odd because if they claim that their ambition is to end abortions, ending birth control makes absolutely no sense. But you can't force people to stop vices if you want to have a free society, and that's part of the issue here. I mean, when we look, and the US has a history of this. When they prohibited alcohol, I mean, that did not go well. That just sprung up speakeasies.
Precisely.
The mafia brought in, they smuggled alcohol. A lot of criminals made a lot of money. So legislating these things doesn't always make sense. And especially with adultery, because also, how do you know if what they're doing in their own bedrooms?
I think that's just a great way to put a pin on it. How do you know what people are doing in their own bedrooms? One thing I am happy about, though, Faith, is that this law would not become an excuse for people to step out on their marriages. It's not a matter of, okay, now you can go frolic. It's a matter of, it's been there, but we're just taking it out.
Exactly. They're not encouraging people to cheat on their partners. They're just saying, if you do, you're not going to be punished as a criminal offence. But I do think, and actually I'm going to give you an old Scots word here, Catchy.
Give me.
You know what the US laws are at the moment, I would say, when it comes to a lot of these things? They're tapsultiri. That means they're upside down, frankly, a bit of a mess.
Faith, I have to say I missed you. You have to tell me everything about it, like Edinburgh. I keep sending you videos and pictures of just
you do.
Beautiful places. I'm just like, Faith, how are you here 24/7 and you come to spend time with me? I mean, I am just honored. It's great to have you on the show. There you have it. That's your update on what's going on with New York and this adultery law that's about to be passed, or rather repealed, right? Repealed. Let's take another quick break. But before then, let me tell you, meanwhile, Faith, did you catch this thing on Titanic where Rose was on the little board?
Oh my God, yes.
What was your, because they've auctioned the board now.
They have. They went for a lot of money.
It did.
Yeah.
A ton. And I'm stunned because it was just a piece of wood.
It was.
But what do you think? Was there enough space for two people on that board?
So I think there was, but James Cameron says it doesn't matter because he had to die and that was that.
Why did Jack have to die? They would have had beautiful babies.
They would have.
We would have gotten like a sequel. I think he did this one intentionally. He did not want us to have a sequel to Titanic. Thank you so much for joining us.